Hey there, Taurus. Welcome to your reading for the week of January 17th. I almost forgot which week it was. This is going to be part 1. There will be a part 2 to this reading down below in the description. And oh my god, Taurus, guess what? We're going to have to fix that. But anyway, Taurus, let's just pretend that that camera was on this entire time. And let me just check and see if it's actually going to turn on. And there we go. Taurus, we're just going to see what comes up for you this week. And let's see here. You start off with this this tiger card over here, which says the word will on it. And so I feel like and you also have this Capricorn card, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But I feel that there could be a need to kind of use your will or assert your will, over something that you are going to be doing with this Tiger Spirit card. It's like you're going to have to make something happen this week. Kind of interesting, this first diagonal really stands out to me. You have the Knight of Pentacles, Tower to the Death card. I actually wouldn't consider that to be too challenging, even with the Tower as your center card, because it's like the Tower... the Tower is clearly something that would be happening right now. I use what I call loose spread. So basically, first row is past, then present, then future. I don't like lock it into that because, I read intuitively. Sometimes I get the past over here, or the future over here. And, but I am kind of feeling like that Tower situation, could just be your rebuilding period as well. And the reason I say this is that you have the Nine of Pentacles and then the Nine of Wands in the same exact row, and you have this Capricorn card, which would make a lot of sense with the Tower, actually. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I kind of feel that some of you are going to need to use your will on like a new beginning. There's a lot of symbolism here for growth, I would say, Taurus. Knight of Pentacles to the Nine of Pentacles. Knight of Pentacles as your first card. We'll just get started. You have the Knight of Pentacles, the Ten of Cups, and the Five of Cups in this first row. The Knight of Pentacles needs to plant seeds. He has these empty fields below him here, and he's the only knight in the tarot that represents no movement. So it's like he needs to get moving. He needs to start planting seeds. But the Nine of Pentacles is a card of growth and abundance. It is a card, like she has planted her seeds. She has created something. She has made something kind of grow in her life. So I do feel that for you here. It could be a weird week. I'm not going to lie. I did the first set of readings already for this week. And now I'm on, part 2 basically, or on set number 2, I should say. And, the second half of all the readings. The first half, a little bit challenging, and I kind of see this challenging energy here. So I don't know what's going on this week. It could be just the beginning of the retrograde or whatever, but, kind of weird energy, I'm not going to lie. And you do have the Tower here and the Five of Cups. So just, like I said, keep your head on straight. And, if you're dealing with anything confusing or if things are slowing down, it's probably just a retrograde, and, that's all you need to know. You do have the Ten of Cups here, which is like fortune after difficulty. So I do feel like there are good things coming in for you. But what I would say is that if you are experiencing a loss, Five of Cups, there's probably something much better coming in for you. Again, if he just would turn around, he would see this bridge that leads to this castle over here, Taurus, and he's focusing on what he had. He's not focusing on what he could gain. So there's clearly, it's going to be very important for you to kind of look at what you could gain in your life, even if you have experienced a Tower moment. But again, it doesn't really matter to me because look at no matter what direction we go to the Tower, you go Nine of Cups, Eight of Wands, Death card, like really, really, really good cards. Again, I read holistically. I don't just read one card necessarily at a time, or I don't like just look at the Tower and be like, oh my God, you're screwed. To me, that's not how tarot works. And what I would say here is it's like you're moving towards something much better in your life, clearly, after a Tower moment. It gives me blessing in disguise type of vibes. To me, the true combination for a blessing in disguise in the tarot is the Five of Cups with the Nine of Swords. So when both of those cards come up together, to me, it says there's a blessing in disguise. But I do kind of feel like there could still be a blessing in disguise coming in. And we're going to clarify this in part 2. Next, you have this Capricorn card. It says achieve. I kind of feel that for a lot of you, there is clearly a need for you to get moving. Knight of Pentacles, it's like we have to start putting in the work so that we can achieve something great. Capricorn is tied to Saturn. Saturn represents like work, just hard work and straight up, putting in effort to make something happen. I don't think we should force anything to happen, but I do feel like we obviously need to do work. That's one of my, I'm a big believer and I'm a big, huge fan of the law of attraction. But one thing I don't like about the law of attraction is that they make, some of the teachers make it seem like you don't have to do anything to get something in your life. But, again, if you are attracted to do a bunch of work to make something happen, then obviously do the work. But I think a lot of them say things like, oh, don't force things to happen and don't, which I think I just said that like 2 seconds ago, by the way. But, what I would say is there's a difference between forcing something to happen and taking inspired action, and, which is something Esther Hicks talks about. So if you are inspired to take an action and it feels good, then keep doing it, even if it requires hard work, right? And that's what I would do here with this Capricorn energy. I also feel the Capricorn energy is tied to the Tower. We'll talk about that in a second. But you have the Nine of Pentacles, the Tower, and the Nine of Wands in this row. As I always say, the Tower to me is a good card because it's like, number one, the Tower is a choice, believe it or not. One person on the card is like falling backwards. They're like, oh my God, what's happening? Like they have no freaking clue, right? Even though the Tower's on fire, there's smoke coming out of it. This person is totally shocked, kind of like a drunk uncle, right? This person here is diving head first out of the window. They are like, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm not going to catch on fire. And the whole point of the card is that, number one, you could have a choice. You can see a Tower moment coming, or maybe the Tower really says that you have built walls up around you, Nine of Wands, right here, and now it's time to be grounded in reality. So the Tower really isn't a bad card. It's about coming back down to earth. It says we've all done this. We've all built our, ivory towers, and we've all built our protections from things that we probably don't need to be protected from, or whatever. So there might be certain things we protect ourselves from or try to protect ourselves from that aren't necessary. It's like when you're a kid, it's like certain things might be dangerous to you that aren't dangerous to you as an adult. And there's like a million ways you could look at this, right? All million ways, by the way, are popping into my head. That's why I'm saying this. And the Tower just says you need to release some of these old, patterns or old beliefs because they might be holding you back. But the Tower is a choice. And so I feel like if you see a ship sinking, the Tower says jump into the life raft, basically. It says jump out. I kind of feel like you are, though, and I'm not worried about it, because of your last row. Your last row is very positive. The Nine of Pentacles, I feel, is saying that your environment is changing. There is a snail on this card right here, kind of hard to see. But the snail wears its home on its back, and the snail represents your environment, the things that are around you. Also, your story. I'm pretty sure in either your quarter one reading or, I don't know, one of the other readings I did for you, Taurus, I was saying something about rewriting your story or, kind of talking to yourself. It's like people, like I drive around town, I bet people around here think I'm crazy because I talk to myself when I'm driving and I just say things like about how I want my day to go, what I want my day to look like, what I want in the future, right? I talk to myself and talk myself through things and just jazz myself up. And I don't give two, what's about what anyone thinks, but I think you need to do the same thing with the Nine of Pentacles because, the Nine of Pentacles is a card of your environment, what you say to yourself, what's around you, all this other stuff. And, she even has a bird here. Birds represent communication, but I kind of feel this Nine of Pentacles is more talking about like the things that you say to yourself with the Nine of Pentacles energy. The Nine of Wands, like I just get a little bit of protective energy, but I almost feel like really what this row is saying is that you could be protecting yourself from things that just probably you don't need to protect yourself from any longer. I totally get it. If you have trauma or, if something has happened to you in a certain area of your life, could be any area of your life, you might think that you need to protect yourself, but this is giving me vibes of being overprotective of yourself. So I would just look into it is what I would say here. And that's what I'm getting there. Again, Saturn and the Tower to me are very similar because, Saturn can definitely cause Tower moments, and you have that Capricorn card. Next, you have this Pig card. It says beware of greed. And then you have this Boot card. It says increase your efforts if you want to achieve your goals. Exactly what I was saying. I was getting this need to kind of like put in the work in this row. So I would definitely be increasing your efforts if you want to stand out at this time, or especially if you're working on something specific. You have an 8 here. You have the 8 of Wands. even though there are 8 wands on the 8 of wands, you can see all 8, it is a card of like laser-like focus. It is a card of being very, very clear about what you are doing. And this is what I mean by inspired action. Again, there's a difference between hard work and inspired action, or doing something because you feel like it. And, again, the two can kind of go hand in hand. It's kind of crazy. It's like I'm testing this out, doing these readings in 2 parts, basically. And, it's not a conspiracy. And, like, people keep asking me why I'm doing it. And they have all these ideas, all these conspiracy theories about why I'm doing 2 readings. I'm just doing it because it's fun for me. It's like half the stuff I do on this channel is just me making it more fun for myself, right? But what's crazy is I'm pretty much doing like 8 readings every single day to keep up with this. But it's like somehow easier than what I was doing before, even though I was kind of doing less work before this. So I don't know. You never know. You never know when hard work might actually be easier, not harder, like it is for me right now. And again, that might change. But again, for like the past 2 years, I've been just taking inspired action, doing what I feel like doing. And, I think the results speak for themselves. I was, this channel was stuck at like 40,000 for 2 years, something like that, right? And all of a sudden I exploded. And I just started doing what I wanted to do. And I tried to stop worrying. I'm a Pisces, so I always worry what people think, right? Which I'm trying to work on. That's something I'm working on, Taurus. But what I would say is that I feel like you need to kind of take inspired action with this 8 of Wands. What do you feel like doing, and not what does everybody else want you to do, right? And that's what I would do with this 8 of Wands. 8 of Wands definitely has to do with other people. It's a card of socializing, but again, intuitively, it's popping into my head as like other people might have ideas for what you're doing. Again, I've been getting plenty of comments about breaking this up in 2 parts, but for the most part, people seem to be enjoying it. And it's actually deep. They're deeper readings. To me, they're better. So I don't know. Will it change in the future? Maybe. But again, I'm gonna allow my inspirations to decide. You have by the way, you have the 9 of Cups, 8 of Wands, and the Death card. The 9 of Cups is like a wish. I kind of do feel like saying be careful what you wish for in this row. Sometimes I think we can say something and then it happens very quickly. Just to give you an example, it's like, I've had like relationships in the past where it's like I don't really necessarily want it to end. Maybe part of me feels like the relationship is going nowhere or whatever. And so I've said like to the universe, like, okay, if this isn't right, take it out of my life. And then like, the person will break up with me like literally a day later. This has happened multiple times to me. So it's kind of like hilarious in general, and then I always regret it. But do I really regret it? Probably not. So, but I'm getting that here for you, where I'm getting like that whole be careful what you wish for thing. But at the same time, is it really a bad thing if that happens? Probably not. But I do feel 8 of Wands, 9 of Pentacles, you could be speaking things out into the universe and they could be happening very quickly. So just kind of like a warning. But what I would say is that you have the Death card. The Death card, of course, is a card of a transformation. But if you look here on the Death Rider's flag, there's a white rose right here. And the white rose in tarot can represent purity, but it can also represent kind of like the light in the dark. It can represent that one little pinprick of light, that chases away the darkness. And so for a lot of you, it's like you might be kind of having a sudden shake up and a sudden upheaval with the Tower, but there's probably going to be a little bit of light coming in for you, because I get that feeling of like knowing that something isn't right for you, maybe saying something into the universe, regretting it later, like I said. And that's really the gist of your reading for the most part, is what I'm getting here. I know that sounds pretty simple, but that's what I'm getting. I also feel that there is clearly some very quick movement happening for you. I feel this is true for pretty much everyone this year, because it's almost like a slip and slide. And this is going to sound gross, Taurus, but like, it's like the beginning of this year, I just see as sandpaper. It's like, imagine if you had a slip and slide that started off with sandpaper, you would be like scraping along. And then all of a sudden we get to mid-February and it's just like blasting off. It's like a slip and slide covered in oil or something like that. So I kind of see the beginning of this year as very gritty, very, kind of slow. And then things in mid-February, just like gone. And that seems to be happening for you. You have this Tiger spirit, very quick movement. 8 of Wands is literally the card of quick movement. So things are changing here, Taurus. Weird reading, not gonna lie. It's giving me blessing in disguise vibes as well, like I said, with the 5 of Cups. But that's part 1, so thank you for being here. Part 2 is gonna be linked up in the pinned comment down below. It's also right here. Don't ask, I never know what direction it is, but somewhere up here, right? So thank you for being here, and definitely enjoy your week.